After a tidal wave of reshoots, delays, and rumors swirled around this underwater epic, Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom finally crashed onto our screens. But did it make a splash, or just flounder in the shallows? With the DCEU's track record of ups and downs, this latest outing feels like a roller coaster that lost a few screws. Aquaman 2 has been swimming in troubled waters since its conception. Early screenings were disastrous, with word on the street labeling it unreleasable. I sat there, popcorn in hand, ready to see if these rumors held water. And let's face it, you're not watching this review for the lack of puns. Moving on. First things first, Jason Momoa reprises his role as Aquaman, but not the Aquaman we remember. The man's got charisma for days, but now the brooding is gone. The layered character from Snyder's universe or even the first Aquaman movie is nowhere to be seen. In The Lost Kingdom, Momoa seems to be playing Momoa, not Arthur Curry. It's like watching a rock star at a costume party who forgot he's supposed to be playing a role. He was once the beacon of hope for the DCEU and king we were promised. Now let's talk comedy, or rather, the attempt. Laugh now! It was like a laugh track in a sitcom. Totally unnecessary and more than a little annoying. Unless you're watching Friends, that show without a laugh track is nothing more than watching a man named Ross creep out the people he knows. The tragedy here isn't just the failed humor, it's the story that gets submerged beneath it. There's a plot in there, somewhere, struggling to break the surface, but the film's tone keeps pushing it back down. Speaking of submerged, let's address the Amber Heard-sized elephant in the room. You knew this section was coming. Mira, played by Heard, is like a forgotten trinket at the bottom of the sea. Her scenes feel like afterthoughts, and her dialogue is as sparse as a desert. It's like the filmmakers decided to just let her character float aimlessly in the narrative currents. Mira is like a ghost in this film. She's there, but she's not. Minimal screen time, even less dialogue. It's like they couldn't decide whether to keep her or cut her out completely, so they opted for this kind of cinematic purgatory where she's just kind of there. Was it intentional? Well, I don't know. You tell me. Anything beyond a guess is just speculation, and sometimes that can get you in a courtroom. Oh, that might have... Moving on.
My dog stepped on a bee.
Now, it's not that there is nothing good about this movie. There is. It's Black Manta 2 finds its footing. The action ramps up and the stakes feel real. And for a moment, you remember you're watching a superhero movie. Blackie's the king of Atlantis, but he acts like he's the king of a frat house. It's a bewildering character. Decide whether to sprint or stroll, so they did both and tripped over their own feet. The movie is 2 hours that feel like 4, and not in a good way. DCEU is a universe that once promised so much, but now seems to be gasping for air. The film lacks the coherence, the emotional depth, and the awe-inspiring visuals that once made the DCEU a formidable opponent to Marvel. Director James Wan, a maestro in his own right, seems to have lost his touch here. He is a director I genuinely respect. The man knows how to craft a visual story, but there's a sense that Wan couldn't decide what movie he wanted to make, so he made all of them, resulting in a Frankenstein's monster of a film. Even the score, which could have been the life raft in this sinking ship, feels underwhelming. It lacks the epicness, the grandeur, and the emotional pull needed to elevate the film. It's like the orchestra was playing from different sheet music. Clearly, Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom is a whirlpool of missed opportunities. The story had potential, the cast had charisma, but the execution was as shaky as a dinghy in a storm. Dinghy. It's more of a reminder that even in the world of superheroes, not every tale is legendary. As I left the theater, I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. This could have been a great film, a worthy successor to the first Aquaman. Instead, it's a cautionary tale of what happens when a franchise loses its direction. Overall, it's like a B student who could have been an A student but didn't try hard enough. The DCEU ends not with a roar, but with a somewhat disappointed sigh. And the post-credit scene, don't bother, it's a joke, literally. Now, let's get metamorphical for a second. If the first Aquaman movie and The Lost Kingdom were characters in their respective films, then the first Aquaman would be Aquaman, bold, charismatic, and a bit rough around the edges, but ultimately lovable. The Lost Kingdom, on the other hand, would be Aquaman's brother, trying so hard to live up to the family name but just not quite making the cut. And if we're talking actors as movies, Jason Momoa embodies the spirit of The Lost Kingdom, rugged and adventurous, while Patrick Wilson resonates more with the original Aquaman, classic, solid, and dependable. Okay, now let me address more like lullabies than adrenaline-pumping adventures. Remember the classic Power Rangers or Beetleborgs? That's the kind of energy we're missing. Beetleborgs. And don't even get me started on how Hollywood is recycling the same faces over and over again. It's like they got this secret club of actors all named friggin' Chris, and no one else is allowed in. Bring in some fresh blood. I mean, look at the kind of content Netflix is pumping out. Shows and movies from Korea, Japan, and other countries are blowing Hollywood out of the friggin' water. They're fresh, they're exciting, and they're what we need right now. Hollywood needs to have a hard reset, a return to the days when movies were more than just big explosions and recycled plot lines. So save your money. That's a wrap on my deep dive into Atlantis. Have you watched it? If yes, what did you think of Aquaman 2? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the cinematic ocean. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is not a total disaster. It's a film that will be remembered not for what it is, but what it could have been. And that is a real tragedy.
Go fuck another fish, asshole!